My name is Christine McKay. I am the CEO of Venn Negotiation. My phone number is 310-567-6169. And my email address is cmckay, MCKAY, at Venn, VENN, negotiation.com.
Very, very cool. Is that phone number a landline or
It's a mobile.
Mobile?
Yeah.
So in other words, people can also text you
Yes,
if that's
absolutely.
what they do. So good stuff.
That's even preferred.
Yeah, amen, amen. All right, so tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm the CEO of Venn Negotiation. We are the negotiation center of excellence for small and mid-sized companies. And so what does that mean? We help small businesses and mid-sized companies negotiate more effectively with companies who are larger or who have more power or leverage than they do. And we do that by providing information on how to think about a contract with some of these larger companies. We provide consulting services where we will either coach a client through a negotiation or we will take the lead in the negotiation, and we provide training programs to companies as well.
Excellent. Any particular companies seem to or work better than others?
No, I mean, they tend to be around the under the $100 million range, 20 to $100 million, and tend to be more technology driven, but that is not necessarily a thing. We've done everything from real estate to technology to oil and gas, financial services, global banking we've just done the gamut. So essentially, if it's, and including mergers and acquisitions. So if it's a negotiation, we come in and help develop that negotiation strategy and then help to execute it. So we're not attorneys. That's a very important distinction. For some reason, people think only attorneys negotiate. But we are very focused on how do you maximize the value out of a relationship and minimize the risk. And so when bigger companies are putting pricing pressure on our clients or not wanting to pay as much revenue, and or trying to push risk down to them, we help them mitigate that.
How did you get into this?
I started doing negotiations about 30 years ago, and I started out in international mergers and acquisitions. I worked for what's now Verizon, and I started out in Southeast Asia, working in Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, and then I worked my way up to Japan. And then I started working in Eastern and Western Europe, and then I finally came to the US. But I started and moved away from doing kind of pre-deal mergers and acquisitions work and started working with large procurement departments in a post-merger environment. And what I found is that there's a lot of activity that happens around contracts in a post-merger acquisition environment. And I found that smaller, mid-sized companies were being terribly taken advantage of in many cases by these larger companies. And I wanted to bring the skills that I had learned over my 20 some odd years of negotiating at the time to smaller organizations to help them level their playing fields and get more value out of those relationships.
How do you, since we know each other from LinkedIn, how do you determine who you want to connect to on LinkedIn by vocation?
I'm much more organic than that. I look at kind of where we have common connections. I look at kind of what are some of the things that are, that somebody's doing in their field, in their market. I'm less about, and I suppose somebody might think that this is terrible. I'm less about kind of being being like so specific and so targeted that I focus more on the individual. And that's part of my negotiation style too. I'm much more focused on the people side of and the relationship side of things, and not as focused on the, oh my God, I can only go after these specific types of people and build my network with these kinds of people. I'm not so much about that. I'm more about, is there a connection? Does it make sense? And can we be of service to each other? And that's my big thing, is how can I be of service to the people in my network?
This is all very, very interesting because so much of what I do on LinkedIn is looking for certain vocations that are typically very struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that you originating with Verizon, you understand all that there's certain kinds of vocations that are people are fighting a battle,
Mm.
and it's oftentimes C-level executives that are struggling. I have somebody very interesting to introduce you to. Greatest guy in the world. His name's Russell Lookadoo.
Oh,
Okay.
awesome. That's such a great name.
And
I,
he's
ma-
an
I imagine he
outsourced.
may not have thought so when he was a child, but
Yeah,
as an adult, that's a fabulous name.
he's an
Sorry,
outsourced
Russell.
HR guy, and he's just great. I love the guy to death. Um, he's just a wonderful person, and he's a deep digger. So what happens is he finds where companies are struggling, and he goes in and he resolves that struggle,
Mm,
and it's more normal than we could ever imagine, especially in this atmosphere now
hmm.
where people, we've gone from being a face-to-face economy
Yep.
to a Zoom economy, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
what's happening?
I mean,
So,
yeah, I've been doing Zoom since it started, and video conferencing and online and telephone related negotiations for decades. So for me, this isn't a new world, but it is a new world for the majority of us. Absolutely.
so you're seeing, are you saying that there's a heightened amount of stress among people? Because we talked about this a little bit earlier, but we didn't put it in this kind of a preface.
Well, I think stress is such an it's such an interesting topic because it's completely and utterly individual, right? It's like what stresses one person out is going to be a motivator or something that they thrive in. And so that for me, like this environment is not stressful. For me, being in, physically with people is much more stressful. I'm an introvert, and I'm not, I don't enjoy huge social interactions very often. I just spoke at a amazing conference by a woman named Stephanie Scheller in San Antonio called the Grow Retreat this last week. And it wasn't even like it was a monster, 10,000 person thing, but it was big enough for me to be very overwhelmed with the social interaction. And I was like, okay, I've peopled out.
I
I've
don't think
had
of
my
you as an
fill.
introvert at all, by the way.
Most people don't, but I'm actually a pretty big introvert. Yeah,
Oh, I love it.
I
This is
get
great.
very peopled out very, very quickly. So
Yeah, yeah. But you are also in a vocation where you have to teach people the art of negotiating, right?
yeah.
And that's a daily occurrence. I can't wait to introduce you to Russell. So, all right. I think we hit some very, very salient issues right here, and I think that it makes for a great watch. By the way, one of the things I what do we do when you're communicating with people on social media? You're doing this, right?
Hmm.
Now we've gone into a Zoom world where people are talking to each other. And I started doing these videos because what I recognized in the first 15 to 30 seconds, people will size you up. They'll look at your body language and they'll look at your facial gestures.
Mm-hmm.
So I just exploded with doing all these videos. I mean, I hopefully do 2 to 3 a day
Oh,
of them.
wow. That's amazing.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So yeah, my third one that was supposed to have happened today, I told him we can't do this because he's heading in the wrong direction. I said, he's my client. And I said, we need to come back. He was writing articles, and these were multi-page articles for Facebook and LinkedIn. But I said, you're overwhelming people, and they're not
Mm,
responding. They're saying that there's no comments. There's an impression, but no comments.
mm-hmm.
But it's really when people are commenting that it takes it to a whole new level, because
Oh,
then you
yeah.
learn from them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think you and I are actually more on the same page than we even can imagine. So anyway, let's do this. Give us your contact information all over again.
Sure. So Christine McKay, my email is cmckay, MCKAY at Venn, VENN, negotiation.com. And I can be reached via text or call at 310-567-6169.
Fantastic, fantastic. And for the listening audience, my name is Bob Friedenthal. On LinkedIn, I'm Bob Holt, Holt. Last name Friedenthal. Like I was saying, I've done about 200 of these interviews, and wildest imagination, never would have dreamt that this was so popular. But look, you're already reading who I am, right? So if you'd like an interview of your own, don't be afraid to give me a call, 310-736-5787. My email address is bob@mycity.com. I own a website called mycity.com. And what a pleasure, what a real pleasure interviewing you, because you're deeper than you think. I love it. All
Well,
right,
thank
so
you so much.
yeah, I'm loving it. So I'm going to be signing us off.
Thank you.
Thank you.